Hello, everyone. My name is Cynthia Ruiz. I'm an author, professor, and a leadership expert. First and foremost, I just want to acknowledge that we're in the middle of a crisis. We all know that. It's a world crisis, and I want to send all my prayers out to all the essential workers from everybody's on the front line, from the healthcare workers to the farm workers and everybody in between. We have the comfort of being able to stay in our home. And as I'm sitting home thinking, I started thinking about women leadership. And so we know that in the United States, 47% of our workforce is made up of women. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of us at the top. So it's disproportional to the number of women that are in the workforce. So I started asking myself the question, if women were in charge of this crisis in the United States, would it look any different? So, of course, I had to call my friend Emiliana, lovingly known as Emmy. I call her the Latina Wonder Woman because I wonder how she does it all. And she's just an all-around Latina badass. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that, but she's a badass. And so because she's such an expert on women leadership, and she is the founder of the Women's March Los Angeles and the Women's March Foundation, I wanted to call and get her perspective. So please help me welcome Emiliana. Hi, Emmy.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So let's just jump right into the conversation. In your opinion, if women were in charge of this crisis in the United States, would it look any different?
Absolutely. I think that, women would have acted sooner, faster. I think that women lead with empathy. From the time we're born to any time, women are asked to be the healers. Women are asked to carry a lot of the load in households, but to lead them, right? I think that if women had been in a leadership position, we would have acted sooner. I remember seeing the photos out there of, the crisis team, and there were no women in the picture. And yet women are 70% of the healthcare workers. Women are 70% of the healthcare workers. Let that sink in. So we are asked to heal. We are asked to present ourselves every single day at the front line of this, but then we had no say in how soon all of the masks were sent out, how soon we should have quarantined. So I do firmly believe that if women had been at the forefront, we would have had a different start to healing this crisis, right? Because we're months away from being out of quarantine.
And of course, this is a hypothetical question because we'll never get an answer, right? Because there's no do-over in this situation. And I have to say that I have seen some good male leadership. For example, locally, Mayor Garcetti, we live in Los Angeles, Mayor Garcetti, Governor Newsom, Governor Cuomo. So there has been some good leadership. But in my opinion, I think if a woman was in charge, she would have made everybody quarantine, the whole country. Everybody needs to stay home and get out of the way while we handle the business, right?
Absolutely. I think that women on the federal level, let's put it that way, women on the federal level were massively underrepresented in their response. But as soon as they had a say, then this is where representatives like Nita Lowey put out the Families First coronavirus response, where she put together a package of $5.2 million in federal funding to expand paid sick leave for some employees. Then you have Senator Amy Klobuchar, who advocated for internet access for rural communities, knowing that now mothers would be staying at home and homeschooling, right? And then you're talking about Representative Susan Brooks, who worked with the Hazard Preparedness Act. And then we're talking about closer to home for us, Kamala Harris led a letter talking to organizations, large corporations, urging them to provide paid leave protections for all of their workers. So these women were still leading even though they needed to lead at a different time, right? So I think that there's always room for female leadership. I mean, when you look at China, right? China's 90% of the nurses and half of the doctors were women. So bigger numbers than what we'd had, right? So I think that female leadership is needed during a crisis. We lead from the heart, we lead with empathy, and we take care, we're caregivers. Honestly, caregivers of the world. We are tasked with that. And I think that we would have had a different response, but we're here now, right? Right now, we're talking about women being at the front line of grocery stores, being at the front line as nurses, being the caregivers at home as well. And so having female leadership is key, and we play a critical role in society, and we must continue to do that.
Well, one of the things that I do is like I said, I'm a professor, I teach leadership, but one of the things I teach, and it comes out of the Bass Handbook of Leadership, and it talks about the different styles of male and female leadership. And according to the experts, the leadership experts, they say that women lead from social power, meaning that women take into consideration the community. They have more tolerance. They have more compassion. So women lead from social power, yet men lead from personal power, individualism, task-oriented, transactional. So although I agree with that, these aren't things that I made up. What are your thoughts on the two different styles of leadership between men and women?
I think that could possibly be true. I think that women, like I said, lead with empathy, lead from the heart, but we also, knowing that when we step into a room, we're usually the minority in the room, right? We're usually the one female in the room, and so we tend to build coalitions. We tend to build power from people helping us to rise. We can't do it alone because we know we're still not yet in those rooms. But imagine if we were equal in those rooms and how different the world would look with female leadership, right? So I think that, yes, women, we tend to work more in a collaborative. We also tend to find people that may know more than we do and work with them. We don't pretend to have all the answers. We are honestly coalition builders.
Well, one of the things I love about your leadership style, and yes, I consider you a leader, is that you are always humble. You know, hi, um, you are always humble. Hi, and you don't let your ego take over when you're doing things. And so I have a question is like, as women, how can we support each other?
I think that supporting each other means different things for different women. I think that it's never just about us. When we look at bigger picture, right? When we look at how does this going to impact other people other than me? We cannot just work for, well, this only benefits me. I think supporting each other is key. How do we support each other during this pandemic? I would say by reaching out. I would say by figuring out how we can be of service. How can we be helpful to those around us? I begin with women because I do think that we are shouldering 80% of the responsibilities. Like I say, there are now women working from home, handling the household, taking care of their kids or elderly parents. And more women are asked to do more. And so in supporting women, I think part of it is just checking in on each other. How are we really doing? How can I really be helpful, right? I checked in on a friend who has it all. You know, she is very successful career, has 4 kids, and she said, I'm doing fine. I said, okay, let me know if you need anything. She finally said, you know what? It's my kid's birthday and I'm sad that I can't really celebrate it. I don't know what to do. But
Mm.
maybe for me, it was my planner hat went on and I said, let's plan a birthday parade, right? It's a simple, yes. We got in our cars and honked our horns through the
Oh.
house and planned a birthday parade for her child. But she really felt like, I'm fine. Realistically, she was sad for her child, right? That her 8-year-old couldn't celebrate. So we're afraid to also reach out for help, but then there's also nothing wrong in reaching out for help, but also for us in reaching out, and how can I be of service? How can I be a service for women that are shouldering all of this? With as much as I have to do, right? There's always room for me to check in on how other women are doing.
Well, I know through the Women's March Foundation, you also have discussions on Thursdays at 10 and 1. How can people get involved in those discussions?
Oh my goodness. Go to our website, womensmarchfoundation.org. We've created virtual talks, virtual conversations. Why? It's to support women. Some women may feel a need to connect outside of their immediate family. Also to feel empowered. Part of it is feeling empowered. That's very important. When we feel like we have power and we have a choice and we're going to get through this, that is key. Our goal is really, really to empower women. And during this crisis, I think that we are all making the best of it, right? But as women, like I said, we shoulder most of the responsibilities around. I was asked the other day to sew masks, and unbeknownst to me, women are sewing and donating their time for masks during this pandemic, even with all of the responsibilities, right? So for us at Women's March Foundation, it's about empowering women. It's about supporting women. It may be with just a conversation. It may be marching. It may be a virtual march, but it's connecting with the women to support, to empower, for us to come out of this stronger, come out of this together. I think that that is key.
Well, I know in the United States, it's a hypothetical situation. We'll never know if women have made a difference. But I do know that it is a global crisis, and there are other countries that do have female leadership. Germany, New Zealand, Belgium, Finland, Iceland, and Denmark. So it'd be interesting to see after the fact if we can compare, if someone would do a study in comparing how the two, the males and females leadership handled this differently. But for right now, we'll
Right.
never know. And so, Emiliana, I want to thank you for your time. I know you're home with your family and homeschooling and do a lot of stuff. And so, for me, I want to say that I believe that women leadership matters in this crisis. And I just want to say thank you so much for your time and thank you for watching.
Thank you for being part of this. I think that women are leading the communal response worldwide, and you, me, we're part of that. Thank you.
Okay, bye bye.
Bye.